Welcome, everyone. My name is Luigi Pecoraro. I'm the Managing Director in Executive Education, and welcome you to the webinar today to fine-tune your financial skills, the essentials of finance and accounting. We have our esteemed guest, Dr. Hemang Desai, here today with us, and I'll introduce him in just a minute. Let's go over our agenda for our time together today. And so I'm just going to give you a quick overview of SMU Cox School of Business and Executive Education if you're not familiar with us. We'll do a course introduction on essentials of finance and accounting, and then we'll talk about the registration process if you're interested, along with the key context. And we will take Q&A through chat, so feel free to put any questions you might have in there while we're going through our session. So SMU Cox School of Business has been around now 100 years. We've celebrated our 100th year anniversary in February. We've been in the business of business education for some time. And throughout that time, we've had world-renowned faculty and nationally ranked degree programs. In addition, through Exec Ed and even in our degree programs, we provide first-class executive and leadership programs. We have a unique partnership with the George W. Bush Presidential Library here on campus. Obviously, we're located in the heart of Dallas, so we're convenient to attend in person. And our goal is to be an ally for lifelong learning to our participants. So what we bring is over 4 decades of executive education. We've been doing this for some time. We've worked with hundreds of organizations and thousands of future leaders. We're obviously very passionate about helping people learn. We believe in lifelong learning, and we actively engage with the business community, and we have local roots and a global reach. We're really excited to introduce Dr. Hemang Desai here today. Dr. Desai, welcome to our session.
Thank you, Luigi, and welcome to all of you to our webinar.
Yeah, I'll let you fill in some blanks here, but Dr. Desai is the chair of our accounting department and been with us for some time now. And he is the academic director for this particular program that we offer through executive education. He's been doing it for many years now. And so anything else you want to say about your background, Hemang?
No, I'll just add that this is one of my favorite programs to teach in. I have been involved in this since 2002. So this is my 19th year of teaching in EFA. And I'll mention this in a few minutes again, but what I really enjoy about this program is the collective learning environment. So you learn from the participants and the participants learn from each other as well as from the instructor. So it's a really very enriching collective learning environment. And I'll have more to say in just a couple of minutes.
Sure. Well, let's start off with this question. Why is understanding of accounting and finance a necessary skill?
It's necessary for a couple of reasons. So Luigi, if we go to the next slide, I sort of provide a framework of what happens to your role as you grow within the organization. So, Luigi, I'm not able to see the slide here.
You're not?
No. So are the participants able to see the chart? The slide that I see is just essentials of finance and accounting Q&A.
Oh, it didn't move?
No, for me, it has not moved. Has it moved for the participants?
I don't know.
No, somebody just said, no, it's not moving for them either.
Okay, so let me reshare. Sometimes that's what does it. Thank you, folks. Hang on 1 second. We've solved this before by resharing.
Yes, okay.
Now you can see it?
Yeah, thank you.
1 second, I need to flip-flop the screen.
Oh, now it has advanced, so yeah.
Oh. Okay.
Okay.
So are we on the 2x2 here?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, this is fine, Luigi. We can work.
All right, go ahead.
So what this graph sort of highlights is how your role evolves as you rise within your organization. So most of us, when we graduate from college, we start out as technical specialists. You could be an engineer, you could be a scientist, and your role is primarily that of a specialist. As you rise within the organization and move towards management, your role changes from being that of a specialist to becoming more of a generalist. The scope of your work expands. You have more budgetary authority, you have financial authority, you have fiscal authority, you have to make resource allocation decisions. So as a result, as you evolve within the organization, there is a need to learn a new language. So on the next slide, what I show is a slide that I have borrowed from a former colleague of mine. And what this slide shows is the results of the survey that was conducted a few years ago across all levels of management about the kind of language they spoke during their work. And as you can see, that folks that were at the lower tiers of management indicated that the primary language of communication for them was the financial language, the technical language. So they spoke 90% of the time technical lingo, 10% of the time was financial. By the time you are in middle management, the split is about 50-50. 50% of the language you speak is financial, 50% is technical. But by the time you by the time you rise to the top levels of the management, the primary language of communication is financial in nature. This particular point was driven home for me a few years ago when we conducted a seminar for senior executives in the oil and gas industry. And I had a relatively young participant who was, I think, in his late 20s in the audience. So during the break, he comes up to me and says that, the reason I'm in this program is because he was identified as a high potential within his organization and was asked to shadow the president of the company for 6 months. And he said, pretty soon we realized that my president and I didn't speak the same language. He said he was a geologist by training, so the primary language he spoke was technical in nature. The president of the company primarily spoke in the financial lingo. So after a couple of weeks, they realized that their communication would improve significantly if he acquired some financial acumen. And so I strongly believe that having financial acumen is a necessary skill for you to succeed in your organization as you rise through the ranks. The second reason why financial skill is really important is, if you think about it, the understanding of financials is critical because it is a reflection on the decisions that you make. It's your scorecard. And we'll talk about this more in my class, but what is critical to recognize is when you are looking at your financials reflect strategy and how well you have executed your strategy. So you as management are collectively responsible for coming up with your firm's strategy as well as executing the strategy. And the effect of both of this, your strategy and execution, is reflected in your financials. So it's critical that you have a good understanding of the financials, because clearly the external constituents, whether it is the investors or analysts, are necessarily going to scrutinize you, evaluate you based on the financials. So it is really important that you understand the framework which the investors and the analysts are going to use to evaluate and assess your performance. So I would argue that for any individual that is desirous of rising through the organization or has already moved to mid to top levels of management, this is a necessary skill.
All right, super, very good. Two very solid reasons. So what makes this program unique? Many people run a program like this, but for us, what makes it unique here?
So for me, I think what makes the program unique is really you, the participants. So what I have observed in my 18 years of involvement with this program is what is so fun and unique about the program is the diversity of participants. And what I mean by diversity is we have diversity of roles, because we have managers that are at middle levels of management, and we also have people that are top executives, CEOs and presidents of their organization. So you have a diversity of roles represented in the class. Also, what is unique is there is diversity of industries that are represented. Because this is an open enrollment program, we have diversity of industries that are represented in the program as well. So what we have is a wide variety, a wide diversity in terms of roles and industries. And that makes for a very rich and lively discussion. So, and as I'll talk about in a minute, a lot of the program is going to be basically based on discussing cases. So we'll take the framework and apply to real world situations.
Yeah.
And what makes the program a lot more educational and enjoyable is that people from different industries will provide their perspective. People at different levels within the organization will provide their perspective. So it is this collective learning environment is what makes this program really unique. And that is what I have seen is one of the biggest joys of teaching in this program is getting diversity of perspectives.
That's great, Dr. Desai. Thank you. So what topics will be covered in the program and how will the topics be taught?
So there are going to be 3 broad topics that we are going to cover in this program. So the topics are listed here on the next slide. So the first set of broad topics we'll cover is how to read and interpret financial statements. So I'm going to be covering that topic in modules 1, 2, and 7. So the focus of these 3 modules is going to be on understanding information in the financial statements. How can we use information in financial statements to assess a firm's strategy and also understand how good a job management has done of executing the strategy. So that's going to be the focus of modules 1, 2, and 7. The second key area of coverage is strategic cost allocation and cost analysis. This is a critical skill for managers to understand the type of cost. So for example, we'll focus on, what are relevant costs versus sunk costs, what are direct costs versus indirect costs, what are product costs versus period costs. And what you will see is having an understanding of the cost and cost allocation can have a significant impact on how you allocate resources efficiently. So having an understanding of cost allocation is going to improve your resource allocation decisions. And the third broad topic we'll cover is we will develop an overarching framework for value creation within your organization. So we'll start with understanding of time value of money, capital budgeting, risk analysis, how you allocate scarce resources to their best use. So this is going to be more finance focused and will develop the framework for value creation. So at the end of the day, a key objective of this program is for you to become better stewards of resources that have been provided to you, not only by the owners of your corporation, but also by the lenders. So the key task for you as managers is efficient allocation of resources. And this program will develop a framework that will help you become better stewards or help you allocate resources more efficiently.
Great.
Then turning to pedagogy. So in a setting and a program like this, we feel that the best way to learn is via cases and examples. So what we are going to do is we are going to develop concepts in the class and then apply those concepts to real world situations. And we'll do that via examples, mini cases, as well as full length cases. So just to sort of give you a flavor, that a typical case will involve 3 to 4 key decision points that a protagonist will have to make or a manager will have to make. And each of these decision points is going to involve managerial judgment. And cases obviously will not have a right or wrong answer, and you will not have full information to make the decision. So welcome to the real world. And what research has shown is an approach like this, where we take concepts and apply it to real world situations via cases, leads to greater retention of the material. It develops analytical, communication, and leadership skills. And so what I like to tell my students is the following quote from Confucius, that I hear and I forget, I see and I remember, but I do and I understand. So we are going to emphasize the last element of this quote, which is we are going to make you do a lot of work, but the hope is that you will have a better understanding of the material as a result of just doing a lot of work and applying it to several real world situations.
Dr. Desai, would you give one example of a case study that you use?
Sure. So the case study, in fact, let me talk about the full length case that we are going to be covering. So we are going to cover a case that involves a fight between target management and one of the activist investors, Bill Ackman. So Bill Ackman had a very public fight with Target. And Mr. Ackman wanted Target to divest its credit card operations as well as its real estate and then lease it back. And he had his reasoning for why he wanted Target to divest of the credit cards and also sell the real estate and lease it back. And so the case becomes a very interesting point of discussion that if you choose to be the protagonist, say, put yourself in the position of target management, how might you respond to an activist investor who's really questioning your strategy of owning credit card operation or owning your real estate? Or you can put yourself in the position of an antagonist, which in this case would be Mr. Ackman, and say, you know, why do you feel that target management or target strategy is flawed because they are owning their credit card operations? So in this sort of a situation, there is really no right or wrong answer. But the key thing for us to think about is, you know, what was Target's management's rationale at that time for owning the credit card operation? What were the strategic advantages that Target was able to realize by owning its credit card operations? And you know, how would you defend against an activist shareholder? So this is the second part of the case. Obviously, in the first part of the case, we will compare the ratios of Target and Walmart. And the reason this analysis is important is it highlights the key point that your financials reflect your strategy. So what first part of the case shows is that the ratios of Target and Walmart will differ predictably based on the different strategy that Target and Walmart pursue. So the first part of the case sort of establishes the key point that financials reflect strategy and execution. And second part is one where the activist investor comes into play. And then if you were target management, what indicators will you look at in your financial statements to sort of argue against Mr. Ackman, if you will, that why is ownership of credit card operations critical for you to execute Target's strategy? So again, there is no right or wrong answer. And you know, I have been teaching this case for some years now, and it always generates very lively discussion in my executive MBA courses as well as executive education programs.
Excellent, thank you for that. That was great. So this program is offered completely online. We'll be using Canvas, which is a learning management system that's very user-friendly. If you've ever been enrolled in a university course, you've probably used Canvas. So what we've done is really break down the lectures that you would have had in a full day session into bite-sized chunks of 10, 15 minutes, maybe sometimes 20 minutes, where you can take a concept and spend some time with that concept and then take a break and come back and watch the next video. But there's about 6 to 8 hours of pre-work for each live session, which will include those pre-recorded lecture videos on each topic. And then there's the case study discussion preparation that Dr. Desai referred to here. We'll also create a thread throughout the 8 weeks that we'll be getting together with an online discussion forum. The faculty will prompt you with certain questions that they'd like to see being discussed among the students and participants during the in-between times from the live sessions. And then those live sessions, as I said, over 8 weeks, every Tuesday evening from October 13th to December 1st, will be at 6 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. Central Time. And that's when the meat is added to the bones of the concepts, where we really get into the application of all those concepts and look to apply them to the case studies, as Dr. Desai has referred to. So again, it'll be available online. We'll be streaming that to you. So the whole course is really at your convenience in terms of your location and particularly in terms of your pace leading up to that session, whether you decide to do an hour a day for 7 days, or whether you decide to, chunk it into 2-3 hour sessions or something like that. It's up to you to get prepared for the class to get the most out of it. And as we've said here, the focus of those live sessions will be the case study, discussion, and application of the topics taught in pre-recorded lecture videos. So be curious if you have any questions about that, but that's how the online format's going to work for this program. We're really excited to launch it in this format for the first time. We've been working very hard to prepare the program for the last 90 days. Faculty's been in the studio producing high quality videos, and it's looking really, really good. All right, so tell us a little bit about those folks that are teaching the class.
So in addition to me, I have two colleagues who are going to join me in teaching. So Jim Link is the chairman of the finance department, and Gauri Bhatt, who's in our accounting group. Both of them have many years of teaching experience, and again, experience teaching across all levels. And what I mean by that is undergraduates, graduate, executive MBA, as well as executive education. So we have a very experienced teaching team that is going to deliver this program. And I speak for both Jim and Gauri that one of the joys for us to teach in this program is this type of programs highlight what education is really all about. Education is a two-way street. So while we will be teaching you concepts and facilitating case discussions, there is an expectation on our part that we are going to learn from you, from the questions that you ask, from the insights that you share with us, and the perspectives that you provide. So what all three of us are really hoping for is enriching and collective learning experience. So I really hope I get to see many of you in our program.
All right, so who should apply for this program? What kinds of folks have you seen in the audience before?
So as I said earlier, that the sweet spot in terms of participants tends to be folks that are from middle level to the top levels of management. And so we have seen people that have been promoted, and as a result, they feel the need to have financial acumen. Also, oftentimes we've had presidents and CEOs who have come to this program because they have grown through the ranks from the technical side, and now that they have been given management responsibilities, they feel the need to shore up or brush up on their financial skills. But really, individuals that are targeted for promotion or have been recently promoted, and individuals that have budgetary authority are the folks that we have typically seen in the program. So the sweet spot, as I said, is middle to senior levels of management. If I had to, sort of assess in terms of work experience, it's anywhere from 10 to 20 years of work experience is what we have seen in the program.
Great, thank you so much. All right, so this is time for any open forum Q&A. While you're thinking about a question you might have for Dr. Desai, you can see our emails and phone numbers here. If you were to have additional questions about the program, you can contact any of us. You'll be getting this slide deck, or you can write it down as we have it on the screen here, but you'll get the slide deck and you'll have our contact information. Dr. Desai will answer your questions directly, and so will I, and our Director of Business Development, Sherry Moore, knows a lot about this program as well, having facilitated registrations and conversations about this program over the years. So any of us can help you. Look into the Q&A at this point to see if you all have something for Dr. Desai. Oh, we got a chat here, hang on. Oh, so talk a little bit about the pre-work that's required, Dr. Desai.
So the pre-work is going to consist of 2 parts, or even potentially 3 parts. So one is, of course, the lecture videos that we would expect all of you to watch. And so in those lecture videos, we will provide sort of content. Let me give you a specific example. So the lecture videos for my content will sort of expose you to the basics of financial statements. What are the core principles of accounting? What are the core financial statements? What is the information in those financial statements? That's what is going to, and then once you have that understanding of the basics of financial statements, then you will be asked to apply it to a real world situation via cases. So the pre-work is going to involve reading or watching the lecture videos. We are also going to assign some pre-read materials. So you will be reading that material as well. And third will be preparing for the cases. So it's watching the lecture videos, reading the assigned material, and preparing for cases.
Preparing for that live session, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. Got someone here in the Q&A. I understand this course starting this fall. However, is this specific course run regularly if this fall doesn't align with the current work personal schedule? Yes, we plan to run it again in spring. So if for some reason that these 8 weeks aren't going to work in your calendar, you can look for this to run again in the springtime. All right, let's see. All right, so we got that question. I'm not seeing anything else at this time. Give it another minute.
And if you have questions at a later time, all our emails and contact information is there. Feel free to reach out anytime with questions.
Sure. I'd be curious from the participant standpoint. Oh, here we go. Are there knowledge checks along the way?
There are going to be knowledge checks along the way, yes. In the sense that, you know, for each of the modules, we are going to be asking you some questions that you will respond to. And then I'll collect all of the responses and then we'll have a discussion. There is another way you can actually do a knowledge check. So for all the participants, we are going to provide you with this software called Fluent in Finance. And so this is a software that will help you. So it's an online program that focuses on 3 broad areas: financial accounting, managerial accounting, and finance. And this will sort of serve as pre-work for our program. And in that online program, there are knowledge checks that are built into place as well. So for those of you who are not familiar with finance and accounting or have very little background, this program, Fluent in Finance, will allow you to actually get familiar with the basic concepts at your own pace. Because this program, given the nature of the program, we are going to move very fast and we are going to focus on cases in our in-class discussion. So a lot of the pre-work is going to become very critical. So the intent of providing you with this Fluent in Finance module is that it will help you learn some of the basic concepts at your own pace. And that program, that module has built-in knowledge checks.
Yeah, thank you for the reminder on Fluent in Finance. Yeah, it has a basic assessment of your knowledge up front, and then you can reassess your knowledge at the end of it. So that's really almost a pre-module to module 1, where it really breaks things down to basic fundamental concepts and ideas and exercises for you to practice in a self-directed pace. That program alone is 10 to 12 hours worth of content, and it can be done throughout the program. Ideally, you'd do it before the whole program, but it's available to you for up to a year as well, that you can go back and refresh and learn from. So that is a value add that we do include in this program. All right, well, you might be thinking of another question. I'll just mention that we mentioned the Essentials of Finance and Accounting coming up in October. We do have a leadership course coming up just next week on Rising Latino Leaders. And then finally, we're going to end the year with a program called Building the Intelligent Enterprise. And we'll have a webinar on that coming up in a couple weeks. But we're going to look at the impact of artificial intelligence, machine learning, and deep learning on the enterprise, and how you need to get ahead of the game with those technologies. And that is taught by our Director of Business Analytics Master's Program, Dr. Hetty Tabor, and her faculty that she's assembled. So just keep an eye out for that program as well, especially if you're dabbling in those areas right now and need to get the most out of those technologies. Okay. That is all. Oh, here we go. Oh, Nerisse would like job placement after accomplishment of class. I'm not sure that's something we offer. Here's another question. What program do you recommend for people who are changing careers from education to finance accounting?
This would certainly be the program that I would recommend. And once you take this program and you get a flavor and you get comfortable, if you are switching careers into finance and accounting, I would highly recommend getting a degree in finance. And we have multiple options. You can actually get a master's in finance at SMU, or you can get an MBA in any format, right? So we have MBAs that is offered in multiple modalities. We have a full-time program, we have a professional program, we have an executive MBA program, and we have an online program. So if you are switching careers, investing in your human capital is really important. So take this program, see how you feel, and then we can have a discussion about what other options you may want to pursue.
Okay, thank you. So we should remind folks that usually we have a picture of this. I'm sorry I didn't put it at the end of the slides here, but this is a certificate program. It's a certificate from SMU Cox School of Business, which you can add to your LinkedIn profile and put on your resume. It is, what is it, 4 days, yeah, we're up to 4 days, effectively about 32 hours of learning that goes on in the program that you're getting a certificate for. Someone says they're having problems hearing, but they're not sure anybody else is. Might be just that person's, tuition and fees. Yes, so the program is running $34.95. Early bird registration up to October 1st will be $200 off that, so $32.95. It's a very competitive price for the essentially 32 hours of content plus the self-directed program that you're getting with Fluent in Finance. So very robust offering for a very reasonable price. Thanks, Austin, for letting me know you're hearing fine. All right, one more chat here. Thank you. All right, Nerisse says thank you. All right. Well, I think we can call it a wrap here, Dr. Desai. Thanks for taking your time out of your busy day.
Of course. Thank you to all the participants for coming. Thank you, Luigi, Sherry, and everybody else for facilitating this.
All right. Thank you all. Have a great day, and look for the slides and the audio recording for you to review again, and feel free to reach out to us with your questions. Take care all.
Bye.